Nick Echeverria here, aka West End Zone on KansasInsight.com. Also on Twitter. This is kind of like a live stream that I like doing from time to time. I prefer doing these things live because I don't know how to edit stuff, so I just do it all like in one take. But really, it's a follow up on my podcast with Peter Ruiz last week and my blog post talking about Guidry's his multiple defense and sort of uh, it's a little bit of a comment on like how we're a 4-3 based team on paper, but really what we want to do in the nickel is what kind of dictates how we run the defense. So like even when we bring in that third linebacker and play that 4-3, it's what we do in the 4-3 is dictated by what we want to do in the nickel. There's compromises, and the biggest evidence of that is two key positions, which is the boundary jack, which is like a kind of like like a hybrid defensive end, and then there's also and he's also like a linebacker, and then there is the boundary safety. The boundary safety is kind of like your do everything player. It's not necessarily like a hybrid position in terms of body type, which it can be, but it requires someone that can do everything, that can play linebacker, someone that can play safety, someone that can play cover, like a slot, man coverage, things like that. So um, now this is like a follow up. I'd asked you guys to send me your questions, which I got a few questions on the thread. I'm gonna pull it up here. All right, there we go. Okay, cool. So yeah, Luke Kane on the forums, super smart guy. I've never met him in person, but from everything that I read from him, loves football, loves to get into the sort of nitty gritty of these things. Um, you know, really enjoy reading his stuff and learning from him. And he, he sent over three pretty solid questions, and we'll start with the first one. Um, with the smoke and mirrors needed last year, I think we clearly did our best work when Guidry cooked up a new look. Uh, well, for example, when we slid into the 3-3-5, we performed better for a short bit. And then your question is, what do you think is our greatest limitation in changing things up? Um, so, I mean, really, really, getting into the 3-3-5 stuff. Guidry, from my understanding, everything that I've seen of his, uh, it seems like he's heavily influenced by like 4-3, 4-2-5, like kind of those style defenses, and he likes to run odd fronts from four-man personnel, and and I think what we did last year was kind of born from necessity, where we had serious depth issues, right? Like we couldn't play our 4-3 stuff. Like say we ran like a normal, like basic, 4-3 or like 4-2-5 with two true ends. I don't even think we had enough guys to run that. That's not even addressing the issues that we had at Jack, where we basically had a true sophomore go down immediately. They expected number 12 to be more useful there. Didn't get it done. They tried going with a like a true freshman, didn't work either. So I think Guidry was just like, look, let's get our best 11 on the field, and that meant bringing in KJ Cloyd to start with Wesley Bassane. I mean, KJ Cloyd. I mean, I think he's like he was like a 6 year senior. I mean, just compare playing a true freshman or playing a guy with years of experience. I think it made sense. That's why they sort of went to that. and what like the way that they were able to do it. Oh damn. They were able to do it because, um, in my opinion, they were able to do it because they just went all in on man coverage. They said, "Hey, we're gonna come out in bare fronts most of the rest of the season. Um, we'll, we're gonna play with two, three techniques. We're gonna blitz five like most of the time, and we're gonna play, cover one pressure or some form of like man free." And I think when you do that, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to have multiple fronts, and I can explain that a little bit later. But um, I just don't know what will look like in the secondary. And I don't know if Guidry is going to be like, look, we're not as good in the secondary because of X Y Z. I think we have to run zone, and I think if we run zone, we become like a quarters team. I think it becomes more difficult to be like as multiple, and yeah, maybe you can be just as multiple, but you can't disguise it as much. Um, and so I think maybe Damari Brown is probably going to be your boundary corner. He's like a like a bigger, longer guy. I think after a year of experience, that's a guy that should be taking a step. And then you got Porter playing on the other side, playing to the field. I'm guessing last year they didn't play field and boundary. They played just left and right. And I don't know if we'll do it again, this year. And then probably the bigger question mark is safety, and that's I'm not at practice. I don't know what's going on so much, and it's if we don't have a boundary safety that can play man coverage and do all the things that the boundary safety has to do, like play in the box and stop the run, then I don't know if we're gonna be able to play man. Um, so yeah, so look, hey, I'm gonna just um, hey, I can come back to that. All right, next question. I think our personnel and depth um, are even better suited for 3-3-5 looks this upcoming season. CJ Clark is likely better at nose than what we offered last year. If that's a swipe um, at Leonard Taylor, the, I'm okay with it. Messidor and Bain are tailor made for tight fronts. We have better, more options for the jack position. And your question is, what do you think is the biggest downside to charting this out there a healthy percent of snaps? So I have a problem with trotting out 3-3 personnel. I I just don't like it. Um, and I think the best example of that is the Louisville game, where 3-3-5 is notoriously bad against 12 personnel. I mean, it's known to be bad at it, right? And if you're playing against 10 personnel all game, yeah, I think the 3-3-5 is great. Um, I I just it if we're playing base personnel with a real jack and the jack is being integrated into 3-3-5 looks, then I'm more comfortable with it because it gives you one more body. Like, I don't want to have two Wesley Basaints out there and a Kiko Mauinoa and then three defensive linemen. Like, I'd rather have you know like 4-2 personnel out there. So to sort of like explain what I mean, I'm gonna try something new that I've never done before. Let me see if I can pull this up. All right. So talking about it like this, right? So you have so let's let's talk about um, just like just like basics, okay? The fields to the right, boundaries to the left, and then let's just draw like um, a very simple over. And we'll draw it up against 2 by 2. All right. So look, so just talking about like our base 4-2 personnel, right? This guy um, should be somebody that could do multiple things, right? And obviously, it's a like a defensive end, okay? And then this guy's roles are limited, okay? So say for example we switch it up and it's a bear front, okay? This we saw plenty of last year. Typically you see the will out here, and you see this like time and again. It's super common, super common. Okay, he's still playing the same role. He's still playing a 5 or 9. Okay, same thing. Okay, let's take it a step further. Take it a step further. Okay, 50 front, same thing. He's kind of in the same role. I mean, that's easy. Okay. Now this is where I think we can start, growing our defense and expanding and sort of like evolving into something that we can do more of. Okay. So we started seeing some of this. Okay. So in a 3-3 stack, I'm okay, like sort of running this stuff. If this J is still a hybrid D end, why? Because really, like really, what one of these three guys is is basically gonna be like a floating defensive end, or sorry, like a floating defensive lineman, where like if this J is in a 0-0 technique, right before the snap, he can play like a flying 3 technique or a flying 2-I or a flying 1, something to that effect, like something like this, right? Or he can play something like this, right? Where he's he's big enough. He's got enough he's got enough stoutness that he can do it that he can do it effectively. Okay, he could like it could be as simple as this. They can even mess with it like this, where like he's maybe not the middle stack guy, but he's one of the outside stack guys. So really, that's kind of like where like I'm out with this right now is is I think I just don't want to be going out there with like 3 linebackers. I want to have one of those guys be like a true jack. Okay, next. Next. All right. So you right here, on other posts I've maintained that I thought Guidry did a nice job of the aforementioned smoke and mirrors to get us through. Um, maybe personal limitations, personnel and injuries. All right, and then you mentioned that you have concerns about DB limitations, as do I. Um, Considering your post and what we clearly do, what are the top things you expect to shift the smoke and mirrors approach? Okay, so this kind of links to the answer of my first question, where if we're not able to play man coverage, I think it's going to be more challenging for us to be as multiple in the same way. Like, for example, playing like a bear front, when we're like in a bear front, I don't. I think it's more difficult to play like traditional split field coverage. If you have to get the jack involved, where if you're playing with jack personnel, like um, one of those quote three linebackers is a defensive end. I don't think you can play traditional split field coverage just because I don't think you're gonna be able to teach a jack defensive end just all the different coverages that a linebacker has to learn. I think that a jack can learn maybe a couple coverage techniques, and that's it. So to kind of give an example, I will cut back to the whiteboard. So looking at it like this, let's draw up a boundary. Well, first let's draw up like a regular 4-2-5 front. Okay, so we'll go jack to the boundary. I have a two eye at the nose, a three technique, and a five. Okay. Um, okay. So this is kind of like this is the thing. This is the thing with playing zone coverage is you're not gonna have that extra guy in the box, right? Like if this was cover one, like it'd be easy, right? Like it would be like that, right? Cover one makes it easy, okay? But if we are in on quarters, like in zone or like the quarters cover two or I don't know something like that, like a too high look. This guy's gonna be like sort of in conflict, right? He's gonna play a short wall of number two. He's playing his B gap, and he's playing the vertical. Okay. All right. Now, um, this size easy. Okay. But if you were to just to cut it in half, this is easy. Okay. He's playing number three. This guy is playing a me technique. He's reading number two. He's reading number two. I mean, just basic quarters, okay? now, now, if we were to bump this to 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 a bear front, uh, okay? Say we're gonna play a bear front, okay? And and obviously you could always like align this differently. Okay, if you wanted to play here, hey, let's just do this first. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Okay, right now, okay, playing quarters to this side of the field. Who's gonna wall number two? Is it gonna be the Jack? Is it gonna be the Mike? Because he's in a deep quarter. Like, he's reading number two. He's reading number two. Okay. Who's gonna play the short wall? I mean, it's gonna have to be him, right? And do you want a Jack defensive end playing like a short curl of a slot receiver? No, of course not. Um, the other option is to flip the front, to flip the front, put the will over here. Um, I mean, that's the other option, right? And then, what are the problems with this? Then the problems with this become that really you can't disguise much. You can't disguise as much. Where if you're gonna drop eight, if you're gonna drop eight, and this Jack's gonna be in coverage, then he's gonna be in coverage to the wide side of the field. It just doesn't work as good. So if if we're playing now, let's do this again. Now let's draw this to a mirrored coverage, cover one, and let's do it like that. Okay, so say we draw a boundary bear front, J, tackle, and okay, will. Got your boundary safety and you got your free safety. Okay, so say we're playing cover one. Cover one. All right. So it becomes a little easier, right? Um, he's manned up. He's manned up. He's manned up. He's manned up. He's free. Okay, and then you could almost play to this back. You could always you could play like a three-way technique with him, and him, where like if he goes out this way, he takes him. If he goes out that way, he takes him. Okay. If he goes anywhere into the line of scrimmage, he takes him. Right? It becomes a lot easier. It becomes a lot easier. Oh, and then they would add to the rush. It becomes a lot easier to be multiple, right? But then then again, do we have a nickel that can play man coverage? Do we have a boundary safety that can play man coverage? Do we have the center fielder that we need, right? That's the question. Do we have the guys that can play man coverage to allow us to be multiple? All right. So Mm, yeah, and then I guess there was one more thing that I wanted to touch on. Um, there was one more thing that I wanted to touch on, which was okay. So the idea of Messidor and Bane. Um, um, yeah, they play the same position, and it'd be great to have them both on the field at the same time, and I think that would be ideal. I think the problem is, I mean, not the problem, but it's a concern that may have a solution built into it, right? Where, it's a long season, it's a physical game, and if one of those dudes gets injured, I mean, it kind of like solves the issue, um, and that's kind of like a backwards way of saying like we need depth, and if we can keep them both fresh and they both play, it's awesome. Um, if you want to get them both at the field, get them both on the field at the same time, um, then I think Bain is probably the guy that you could move in to play that tackle position where in the bare front, three technique um, um, in the uh, in the 50 front. He's either playing like a head up on tackle or like an outside shade or in the 3-3 stuff. Same thing. I think we can do that. It's just do you want to have Messidor and Bane playing bookends and then have our multiplicity suffer? Like I just don't think it's worth it. And if we can coach up enough jacks and have experienced jacks playing that position, then I think it opens up the playbook and it allows us to have less sort of tendencies and things like that. Kane's Cats Heat, what's up, bro? Thanks for supporting my, you know, super brand new channel. um, if you guys have it, if you don't have any questions, let me know. I'm gonna uh, probably wrap this up in the next 5 minutes. Yeah, let's see if we can find some more questions. Um, yeah, 252 Kane. We addressed that. Um, good question for sure. Daddy from Cincinnati. If you have any questions about the terminology and things like that, let me know. I mean, too many arguments on the message board are direct results of people just saying the same thing in different language. So I think it's important that before you answer anyone's question, you gotta get clarification. Okay, Kane's Cats Heat. What positions do I think we need depth at? Um, so I think like you think about last year. Last year going into the season, we knew that we had issues at defensive line, especially defensive end. Our worst fears occurred where we lost our top two DNs, which ended up leading to us learning about Ruben Bain. Um, and I think that's gotten better. I don't think that the defensive line is where it's at like where it needs to be at. I think we have a bunch of guys that can play ball. I think we have like a lot of guys that can can sort of like line up and make plays. You know, I don't think we look like a Kirby Smart or Nick Saban defensive line where they're able to solve problems on the defensive line by doing things like two gapping or using your size and strength. We don't do that, and right now we can't do that. We are more of a movement team. We're moving pre-snap. It's called stemming, right? It's like you know what I used to coach would say, hey, look, line up in an over front. And when I say move, shift to, like a 3-4 50 front. And right before the snap, they move, and then that sort of messes up the blocking assignments of the offense. And so it sort of causes havoc. Um, and then we're also sort of doing like a ton of line stunts, right? So you look at, if you look at what I pull up on the screen, I'm gonna see if I can pull up some of like the basic line stunts. I think I passed them actually. Yeah, here we go. So like these sort of line stunts where um, you know like your standard line stunt is a defensive lineman stunting at the snap, one half technique or like one technique, right? For example, right here, you have a three technique that'll stunt to a two eye, right? Like meaning he's gonna stunt from the outside shoulder of the guard to the inside shoulder of the guard. I mean, in theory, okay. It's not like he's trying to go like touch the center, okay. Um, and then to better illustrate that, let's look at the tackle here in the Toro technique, right? He's gonna stunt from a three technique out, right? But he's gonna be in the same gap, right? So that's your standard line stunts where again, it's meant to sort of create havoc, and we like to solve problems to the front by moving. Um, like this is another sort of good example here. Um, like you and me twists where there's a twist between like a defensive tackle uh, and a defensive end. The call is made by the DN, and I'm not sure if this is what Miami does. This is what I used to do. Um, but you call like you me. These are defensive end says you means out at the end goes first, and then the end will loop in. Sort of after. That's kind of like a way that you're able to cancel a B gap. Um, so sometimes we do that to assist in the run game. Sometimes it can be used as like a pass rush technique. So it's kind of that's looking at the defensive line. Linebacker, I think we have pretty good depth. We lost KJ Cloyd last year, and he was a solid guy. We also have a lot of good young players, and I think you're seeing a guy like Popo Aguirre get solid experience, gaining trust, and we're creating depth at that Mike position, which is necessary. Kiko is a huge part of this defense, and we're going to need someone ready behind him. And then, at the will position, obviously there's a bunch of guys playing there. Everything we're hearing about Wesley Bassane has been great. So I think at linebacker we're okay. I actually feel pretty good at corner. I feel pretty good at corner with Damari Brown being like your bigger, longer guy. And then we have coming back Daryl Porter. Daryl Porter had a great season last year, and Daryl Porter we didn't no one knew, like nobody even noticed him. And I think as a corner, that's like a great thing to have, right? And I'm not sure if they're gonna play left and right corners again this year. If they're gonna go field and boundary, yeah. And then, like I mentioned previously, safety. I just don't know enough. I know that we have a bunch of new guys. I don't know exactly what's gonna happen. And I don't know. I just like I'm not at practice. I can't see it, but all I can say is that nickel and safety, huge question marks. Cam's shoes are very big to fill. I think James shoes can be filled a bit easier. You know, but we'll see there. That's I'm not sure. I can't say we don't have depth. It's more like it's just a lot of question marks. Um, Let me see any other questions. Yeah. So I mean, look, I'm not like plugged in with recording and Portal. Like I watch what D Money's putting out there, and based on everything that I'm hearing from him, um, you know, uh, it looks like if something opens up in the Portal at D line, I think we're gonna go pretty heavy at it. You know, and look, defensive line is a position that's expensive, and it's always gonna be, it's always gonna be, um, you know, s- a top priority, and you can never have enough of those guys. So anyway, the few of you that came on, thank you so much. I'm gonna sign off. And yeah, thank you. Go Canes. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. Thank you.